The Grammy envelope tore open like my heart 6 months later. But that night in the Hollywood Hills, it was Matthew's voice cracking over the phone that shattered everything. Wyatt. Baby, it's not what it looks like. Swear to God. The label's just protecting the brand. His words hung in the recycled air of my cramped Laurel Canyon apartment, tasting like cheap bourbon and broken promises. While outside, the coyotes howled as if they knew the truth before I did. I gripped the remote so hard the plastic bit into my palm. The TV frozen on that red carpet clip. Him, arms slung around some wide-eyed actress, her laugh too bright. His too practiced, the tabloids already screaming music's hottest new power couple. I'd written the line that sealed his stardom. Whiskey on your breath, fire in your eyes, darlin', you're the storm I chase every night. Scribbled on a bar napkin in that dive off Broadway in Nashville, 2 years back, when we were just two broke dreamers splitting a six-pack and a beat-up guitar. Matthew Hayes, with his golden boy curls and that voice like aged oak, had strummed it lazy-like, eyes locked on mine across the sticky table, and I'd felt it then. The hook that wasn't just in the song, but in us. We were electric, unspoken. The kind of love that Nashville whispers about in back-alley honky-tonks but never puts on a marquee. Gay in the heart of country music? Hell, it was like trying to two-step in concrete boots. But we made it work, or so I thought. Stolen weekends in my shotgun shack on the Cumberland, his head on my chest while I hummed melodies into the dark, his fingers tracing the tattoos on my arms like they were his own sheet music. By dawn, I'd packed a duffel with nothing but my notebook, a half-empty flask, and the ghost of his touch. The drive east on I-40 felt like unraveling a reel of film frame by frame. Taillights blurring into memories of him belting out Storm Chaser at the Bluebird Cafe. The crowd on their feet, oblivious that every aching verse was born from the way he'd kiss me slow after a fight, murmuring, "You're my muse, Wyatt. Don't you ever forget." I'd believed it, fed it to him line by line, watching his demos turn into demos that labels fought over. When he signed with Apex Records in LA, it was champagne and plastic flutes on my sagging couch. His lips salty against mine as he promised, "This is ours, cowpoke. The world's gonna hear what we got." But fame's a jealous lover, and Matthew started slipping into its bed long before the headlines hit. It began small. Canceled flights from LAX because promo ran late. Texts that came hours after the goodnight, "Love you" timestamp. I'd scroll his Insta at 3 a.m., heart pounding like a bass drum, seeing him schmooze at industry parties, smiling that megawatt grin for cameras that never caught the shadows under his eyes. I wrote it off as the grind, poured it into Letting Go of Yesterday. A ballad about holding on too tight, the kind of song that makes housewives in Tulsa weep into their Chardonnay. He recorded it in a week, and it shot to #1 on the country charts. His voice wrapping around my words like kudzu on a fence. Fans ate it up, calling it his most vulnerable yet, little knowing the vulnerability was me, bleeding ink onto pages he'd never read aloud in private. The betrayal landed like a sucker punch at the CMA Awards in November, broadcast live from Bridgestone Arena. I was in Nashville for a low-rent songwriters round, nursing a PBR in the green room, when his face filled the screen, suited up in midnight blue, trophy in hand for Song of the Year. "This one's for the man who taught me how to feel every damn note," he said, voice gravelly with that practiced emotion, pausing for the applause. The camera panned to his date. That actress again, her hand on his knee like she owned the rights. No name, no nod to the ghostwriter in the credits, me, Wyatt Callahan, the shadow behind the spotlight. My phone buzzed. A group text from our old circle. "Dude, that's your line from last summer's lake trip." Laughter emojis followed, but I couldn't breathe. The room spinning like I chugged moonshine on an empty stomach. I drove to his hotel that night, the neon blur of Lower Broadway a mocking kaleidoscope. The doorman recognized me, too well probably, and waved me up without a word. Matthew's suite overlooked the Cumberland, the river glittering like fool's gold under the moon. He was alone when I burst in, tie loosened, tumbler in hand, eyes widening like a deer in headlights. "Wyatt? Shit, what are you? You dedicated it to me?" I hurled the words like knives, my notebook slapping the marble counter. Pages fluttered out. Lyrics half-formed, stained with coffee and unshed tears. Or was that just another verse for the fans? The ones who think you're straight as an arrow, crooning about storms you never chased with anyone real. He flinched, setting the glass down too hard, amber sloshing over the rim. Babe, it's the game. You know how it is, country radio, the Bible Belt, they eat up the heartbreak but spit out anything that smells like us. He stepped closer, that familiar cologne hitting me like a wave. But I held up a hand, the air between us crackling with the static of too many unspoken fights. The game. I laughed, bitter as black coffee. I wrote your soul into those songs, Matthew. Every bridge about forgiveness. That's me forgiving you for bailing on our anniversary to glad hand some exec. Every chorus about forever. That's the lie we both swallowed. My voice broke on the last word, and there it was, the hook I'd been dodging. Love like a slow burn ballad, building to a crescendo that leaves you wrecked. He sank onto the leather couch, head in hands, curls falling forward like a curtain. I never meant to hurt you. God, Wyatt, you're in every bar, every chord. But if I say it out loud, if I say your name, they'll bury me. The label's got clauses, NDAs thicker than a truck stop menu. And yeah, the actress, this PR, smoke and mirrors. His eyes met mine then, blue as a summer sky over the Smokies, pleading, come to LA with me. We do this quiet like always, build a life behind the curtain. For a heartbeat I wanted to, pictured us in some canyon hideaway, me strumming originals while he hummed harmonies, the world fading to a distant hum. But the weight of it, the secrets, the spotlights that burned instead of warmed, crushed that dream like a boot on a cicada shell. Quiet, I whispered, stepping back toward the door. That's not living, Matthew. That's surviving. And I'm done being your ghost. The climax hit 2 weeks later, in the pouring rain outside Tootsie's Orchid Lounge, the heart of Nashville's Music Row. I'd holed up in my old apartment, a walk-up above a tattoo parlor on 2nd Avenue, scribbling fury into a new song, Echoes in the Empty, a gut punch about echoes left behind. Publishers sniffed around, but I ignored the calls, drowning in the what-ifs. Then his text, need to see you. One last time. Midnight. You know where? I knew. The alley behind Tootsie's, where we'd first kissed under a harvest moon. His laughter muffled against my neck as neon buzzed overhead. The storm rolled in from the west, fat drops hammering the tin roofs like applause from a cruel audience. I waited in the shadows, collar up against the chill, heart thumping a rhythm I'd never notate. Headlights sliced the dark, a black Escalade, plates from California. He stepped out alone, no entourage, suit jacket over his head like a shield. Wyatt! His shout cut through the downpour, voice raw. We met in the middle, puddles splashing up our jeans, the air thick with ozone and regret. I can't do this anymore, I said, rain streaming down my face, tasting like salt. You take my words, twist them into gold, but you leave me in the dark. Who am I without you, Matthew? Or worse, who are you without me? He grabbed my arms, grip fierce, eyes wild in the sodium glow. You're everything. The songs, they're us, Wyatt. Without you, I'm just noise. Thunder cracked overhead, shaking the bricks, and for a split second, I saw it. The boy from the honky-tonk, not the star, vulnerability cracking his facade like lightning on a oak. But betrayal's the scar that doesn't fade easy. Then why hide? I yanked free, chest heaving. Why let them think you're someone else's storm? I loved you loud, Matthew. Wrote it in every line. But you sang it soft. For the cameras, not for me. He staggered back, rain masking the tears on his cheeks. I was scared. Of losing it all, the stage, the dream. But losing you? That's the real nightmare. His voice broke, a sob swallowed by the gale. Don't go, please. The moment stretched, taut as a guitar string about to snap. I could pull him close, rewrite the chorus, chase that forever we'd sketched in stolen nights. But love isn't a demo track you tweak in the studio. It's live, raw, take it or leave it. And in that alley, slick with regret, I chose me. Goodbye, Matthew, I said, soft as a fade out, turned and walked into the storm, notebook sodden but soul lighter, the echo of his plea, Wyatt, wait, fading like the last chord of a heartbreak anthem. Months blurred into a new rhythm. I sold Echoes to an indie label, watched it climb the Americana charts on my own steam. No co-writes, no shadows. Nashville buzzed with whispers. That Callahan guy's got fire. Gigs at the station and packed out. Folks leaning in to hear the man behind the man, finally stepping into his own light. Letters came, fans sharing their storms, their chases, reminding me why we chased the music in the first place. Not for the gold records, but the human ache beneath. Matthew's star kept rising, tours selling out arenas from coast to coast. I caught snippets on the radio, his voice rapping my old words in fresh pain, dedications now vague as fog off the river. To the one who let me go and set me free. Critics called it his most mature work, but I heard the truth, the hollow ring of realization too late. One crisp October evening, a year after the rain, I played the Ryman, Mother Church of Country, the Holy Grail. Spotlight warm on my face. No filters, just me and the sixth string. I closed with Storm Chaser. The crowd hushed, then erupted, but my eyes found him in the balcony. Matthew, incognito in a ball cap, alone, applause dying on his palms. Our gazes locked across the pews, a silent bridge no label could censor. He nodded, once. Acknowledgement, not apology, and slipped out into the night. I didn't chase. Instead, I let the final note hang, then bowed to the roar. In letting go, I'd found my voice. Not behind his, but my own. And in the quiet after, as the house lights rose, I knew. Sometimes, the greatest love songs aren't about holding on. They're about the beautiful wreckage when you finally sail free.